Hi, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Reviving Kathmandu from Lemery Games. Reviving Kathmandu is a 2 to 6 player game of bidding as you try to go ahead and gather cards, bidding and set collection as you gather the cards necessary to build out a variety of buildings in this game. This is a prototype, all rules, components, all that stuff subject to change, and there will be a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below. In Reviving Kathmandu, you're basically playing across 8 rounds of play. 2 to 6 players, depending on how many players you are. If you're using 3 to 4, you're going to be using this area. If you're using 5 to 6, you'll be using this area and some additional cards. But the general idea of the game is across 8 rounds of play, 2 sequences of 4, you're going to be bidding to acquire certain cards to build out certain buildings that will all score points based on certain criteria that we'll have in play, as well as your own personal scoring bonuses at the same time. That's the general idea. So 8 rounds of play, gather 2 cards per round, a total of 16 cards, and build out your buildings. The way you're going to do that is you're going to have your own personal bidding tokens over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to have these. These are all going to be face down, so you can go ahead and other players cannot see them. And we're going to go ahead and simulate out a 2-player experience right here, although it really does play better at higher player counts, so you want to factor that in. But we'll go ahead and show it to you. In fact, I'll go ahead and grab some additional tokens just to show you how some of the 3-player bidding would play out, because I think it'll give you a better sense of the game. So what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead from this deck over here, from the blue deck, we're going to place cards into the bidding grid over here. From there, players are going to blind from the other players, they're going to look at your own tokens. So you're going to go ahead and look, and you're going to say, I really want to get this card, so I'm going to go ahead and put down a 4. You have numbers 1 through 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to put a 4 over here. Do I actually want to do it over here? The question is always when I'm doing these little things is how strategic do I want to be in the fake game that I'm not playing? I think I'm actually going to go over here. This might be a better option for me. So I'm going to put my 4 over there. This player is going to go ahead and go over here, and we're going to have the red player go over. In fact, I think I'll have the red player put down. Let me just make sure we have a conflicting number. There we go. We're going to have them go over here. Okay, so a few things are going to go on over here. We're going to reveal our numbers. We're going to flip them over. We have 3, 3, and 4. So the 4 means I'm going to get both these cards. I'm going to get both cards in the row or column I placed it because it's the higher number. Those will go to me. From here, the only person who went for this card is going to be the red 3. So the red player is going to take this 3, and then additional 1 card from the red deck. These are usually a little bit less variable, a little bit less, interesting than the other cards. So you're going to get that over there. You always get 2 cards per round. Then from these 2 over here, they're both a 3. The first rule of thumb is closer gets the first 3. So for example, had I placed over here, then red would be closer, so it would get the card. But then if you're looking at the same closeness, they're both 1 away, then the long edge gets the card. In this case, blue is going to get this card along with 1 other card. So everyone's got 2 cards, and the question of which 2 cards you get is going to be determined by the bid, and that's basically it. You're going to take your numbers back, you're going to put them into your own little grid, and that's the cards you get. Now when you're done with that, and we'll take back red's bidding marker, when you're done with that, you have the opportunity to go ahead and build if you want to or are able to. Building basically means building one of the building types, and there's 4 building types in the game. There's going to be over here, we can see over here we have the Buddha, we have the Shrine, we have the Stupa, and the Pagoda over here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 in terms of their height, and every building contributes to those in different ways. So you can see over here, this is a level 2 pagoda over here of the color white. We have a level 4 pagoda over here of the color blue, and you could go ahead and mix and match different colors, although you do get scoring bonuses for getting the same color when you build things out. So you're trying to gather cards into your hand, at which point you can place them to build the buildings. You're going to be placing them from the bottom working way up, so you cannot place a level 2 or 3 unless you have the base over there. The problem is sometimes they're worth negative points. Let's go ahead and find some cards over here. Sometimes the bases are worth negative points. So for example, you can see over here, the bases are worth negative in this case or fewer in other cases. So you want to make sure you're trying to actually build it out fully, or you will get penalized because you didn't get it fully. From there, pagodas are going to be worth 10 points when you get them all the way to the top. A pagoda, or the 4-level pagoda is going to be worth 10 points. A stupa is going to be worth 6. A shrine, I believe, is 3 or 3 or 4 if I recall correctly. I have to double check this over here. A shrine is going to be 3 points for a shrine, and then we're going to have 1 point for a Buddha, although there is a scoring bonus there. The scoring bonuses are all listed nicely on the player rate over here. Basically, you get a scoring bonus of either +2, +4, or +8 for having 2, 3, or 4 cards of the same color in a building. And then for each additional Buddha beyond the first, for each additional different colored Buddha, you get 1 extra point. So your first blue Buddha, nothing. For your second blue Buddha, nothing. But then from there, a red would get you a point, another red would get you nothing, another yellow. So you want to try to get different colored Buddhas, which will be worth extra points. Additionally, and lastly, you have your own scoring bonus over here, which gives you certain criteria of 4 different ways you can score extra points. So I can score an extra single point for a yellow or white Buddha. I can score an extra 2 points for having a shrine that has a blue or orange bottom. I can score an extra 3 points for having a pagoda, a stupa, that has the bottom 2 sections the same color. And I can score an extra 4 points for having a pagoda that has the second most and highest the same color. And everyone's going to have slightly different scoring goals that give you slightly different objectives as far as how you score extra points. And then lastly and finally, you may have noticed that I said there's going to be 2 cycles of 4 rounds, and you have 5 bidding markers, which basically means every single round you're placing down one of your 5 bidding markers, and once 4 have been placed, you will have 1 marker left. That marker can either be used to be worth its points, so for example, if you have your 5 left over, that's going to be 5 points, or alternatively, it can be used to go ahead and get any discarded cards in the game, because as you build things out, if you ever have more than 3 cards in your hand when you're done building, you'll have to discard the extra cards, so you want to be mindful of not holding onto cards the entire game, because otherwise you might find yourself in trouble. And you're going to do that, again, across 8 rounds of play, 2 cards per turn, getting those cards. You might be able to get that extra card as well, so you can have up to 16, maybe 17, 18 cards total in the game, as you slowly build things out, and that is basically reviving Kathmandu. Place your bids, gather your cards, try to gather the right cards, gather the right sets for your collection, build them out onto your board, and call that a day. As far as what I like, don't like, and conceal as not liking, first of all, ease of play. Let's start with that ease of play. As far as ease of play, a rulebook is very easy to dive into. It's basically a set collection with a bidding mechanism. It takes about, 10 minutes to learn, about 5 minutes to teach. You can get people up and running fairly quickly in this game, especially if you're there to address questions and answer all that. Game time runs about half an hour, could run a drop longer. I have not played it at 5 and 6 players, so I don't know how that affects the play time and slows it down. And there's a slight different rules as far as how these two work in terms of the cards next to them when you place a bid there. But basically, generally I'd say around half an hour, maybe 40 minutes for the game. As far as what I like, don't like, and conceal as not liking, starting with what I like, the bidding system in general is a fun little puzzle of just trying to anticipate what you want, what your opponent wants, and trying to prioritize based on the grid of what you're close to and what's going to get you the cards that you want. So it's a fun little clever bidding system that involves trying to play your opponents, trying to see what they've already played, because that's going to be public information, and then trying to decide how badly you want certain things, and whether you want those extra 5 bonus points, or whether you're going to try to play it a little more conservatively to try to just get what you need. So it's a fun little quick bidding system, and you always get things no matter what. This is not one of those systems where you're like, oh, I made the wrong call, I got nothing. No, you're getting 2 cards per round. The only question is, are you getting random cards from the deck, or are you getting the cards you specifically thought that you wanted, or sometimes intentionally tried to not get by placing further away, hoping someone would take that card because you didn't even want it, and a random card might give you that shot. But you always get things no matter what. So you always have that, I'm getting something. The only question is whether I have more control over what I got or not. You additionally have personal goals that give you a reason to do certain things, so it gives you a bit of guidance towards the game, as opposed to just thinking out the math of the perfect answer. You do want to try to get one of each building type to a degree. It will slightly increase your chance of getting a higher score as you go through that. And then lastly, the general production values, and this is a prototype, so I don't know where the final thing will be, but general production values of even the prototype, the math that fits into the board perfectly, this beautiful metal ball, the beautiful bell, it's not an actual bell, but the beautiful metal, I guess it's not actually a bell, I guess it's probably actually a stupa, now that I'm thinking about it. So this stupa over here, and additionally the double layered boards, the art, the production value in general is just very solid, especially considering that this is a prototype. As far as what I don't like, first of all, I think the biggest thing about the reviving Kathmandu in terms of what I don't like is the fact that it doesn't feel that it doesn't feel rewarding enough to actually get your hands on stuff. Everything feels a bit too easy. You kind of get cards, you can usually work your way with those cards, you can usually find yourself getting what you need, you can usually get, 3 or 4 colors of the same in the buildings you're trying to get. For the most part, man, maybe it's because you get things every turn, I don't know what exactly, or maybe you just need to have more difficulty in terms of what you're trying to combine. But you kind of are vying for certain things, but it never felt like a real knife fight to get what you want. It felt a little ambient. Okay, I try to get these cards, that won't be helpful for me, but it's okay, I'll be able to work with what I have. I think the game didn't provide enough tension in terms of the things you're trying to get done, so that it's really super important to get certain things and that it feels really difficult and challenging. For the most part, there is a degree of trying to prioritize. I really need a level 4 building so I can finish my pagoda and get that scoring bonus for having all 4 cards the same color. But more often than not, it was kind of, you'll work with what you get and it'll mostly work out as far as how things play out. Which essentially goes to the second aspect, which is the main point differential I found did come from those color bonuses. So as much as possible, you want to try to get those color bonuses. Building buildings of different colors are likely a way to find that you just don't win the game, because everything you do gives you points, and you really want to focus heavily on getting as many things of the same color in the same building, because that's usually going to be where that extra point differential comes down to at the end of the game. And then additionally, going back to the whole idea of the lack of tightness, like, no one ever scored, in any of the games I played, no one really scored negative points for a building. It was easy enough to build the building up to a point that you needed to, or just not build it at all, that it never felt like it was that much of a punishment or that much of a threat of punishment. The consequence of it, the concept of it, I like. I like the concept of you have to commit to the building, you have to get it done. In practice and in reality, no one really scored any negative points for it. So my main complaint to the whole reviving Kathmandu generally comes down to, it felt like it was just a little too easy to get everything you need done in the game. As far as I can see others not liking, first of all, this is a bluffing game. This is a bluffing game where you're trying to think through what number to place down, face down, what's going to get you want. Do you go ahead and place your 5, your 4, your 3? Do you hope to place down your 2 and get what you want over there? If you don't like blind bidding, this is blind bidding. Some people don't like that. And then additionally, I'd say that the tie breaking on the bids, the aspect of, you know, I think for some aspects it kind of felt like it worked in terms of like who's closer to the card or the numbers and all that. But this left edge versus right edge, or the long edge versus the short edge, I felt that was a little anticlimactic whenever you lose a bid there. Just, I feel there could be potentially a better way to handle that. I don't know what it is, but it felt a drop anticlimactic that you just kind of win the tie based on the side. But past that, as far as final thoughts on Reviving Kathmandu, overall, I like the bidding. I like the bidding aspect of what Reviving Kathmandu is doing, as far as the quick and easy to learn game, the excellent production value, the enjoyable bidding as far as how you gather cards and slowly build things out. At the end of the day, the biggest thing against it for me is just that it felt a little bit more light and ambient. I think this falls into the category of being a gateway accessible game with enough decision making to keep you interested and invested in what you're doing, but with less enough consequence that it's more accessible for those who want something a little lighter and a little bit less rewarding when you actually do or don't get things done in the game. Overall, for me, this is a 3.5 out of 5. It's a solid game. It's a good gateway game. I think it's a drop too light for what I'm personally looking for. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, Four Gardens. This kind of to a degree gave me, both in terms of production value, in terms of the set collection, reminded me of Four Gardens from Arcane Wonders as you try to gather sets of cards in different sizes as you try to build up your panoramas in Four Gardens. Again, both of them have, you know, a really solid production value and theme with a little bit lighter as far as the actual set collection aspect that I wanted from it. And then additionally, one of my favorite set collection games that will give you a very quick game that easy to teach, easy to play. I always recommend No Thanks as being an excellent set collection game with a ton of tough decisions in a very small box with a very easy rule set. In any case, then until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.